pleasure to be here. I want to say thank you to the Groveton Student Foundation. This is a first for me. The person that I'm about to introduce, or that I'm introducing, I talk to him every day. We're together every day. We work together. We live together, of course. And so you would think at some point in time at some point within the 22 years that we've been married, I would have said something or came up and said, do a presentation for him, but this is my first time. So, let me get started. Anything else? Talk about finance, I'm good, but I don't know why, but I'm kind of nervous right now. Let me tell you how I arrived at the things that I'm going to say. When my husband told me that Joanne wanted me to, introduce him, I said, okay, all right, that's a first for me, so I'll go ahead and do it. And then after that, I went into prayer and I asked God, I said, okay, God, what would you have me to say about my gift? And it took me a while. I didn't hear from him immediately, but over a course of a month, he only gave me a few lines. And then he said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to introduce him in 3 categories: spiritually, personally, and professionally. And the first one will be spiritually. So I said, okay, Dad, what would you have me to say? So the first part is going to be read verbatim because I don't want to miss what God has told me to say. So I'm just going to read this verbatim, but bear with me, it's not boring. I'm not going to be a verbatim reader. But spiritually, God said, I want the people to know that he has a desire to be obedient to me. He is my son, and he is an obedient son, and a son who I have not finished, and I have a great destination for it. So God said, your destiny is not over, so be prepared. This is only the beginning. So that's what God said. Then I said, okay, what do I say personally without gushing all over the place? After 22 years, I feel like I'm on my first date with my husband all the time. That may sound impossible, but it's true. He makes me laugh. He's my officer and a gentleman, and he's my man of God, and he's my gift. And I praise God for him. He's very kind. I'm extremely fond of him. And if I could have placed a request in for God, I would have messed it up. I would have. We fit each other perfectly, and the reason for that is because God brought him into my life. We worked together, and he was in our headquarters office, and at that time it was called Home Savings of America. Now it's called JP Morgan Chase. And he was in the home office, I was in the branch, and I was the financial advisor in the branch, and I would call in to the corporate office. He was the trader, so, and every now and then I would get him. And then for a period of time, I was getting him every time I called in. So we had some conversation, and it was his birthday or something. He said, oh, you didn't call me on my birthday. And I said, when was your birthday? He said, it was last week. And I joked around and said, oh, well, I tell you what, if I wasn't busy this weekend, I would take you out for your birthday. But I have to do a young adult activity at my church. And he said, oh, where's your church? And I told him where it was. I didn't give him the address either. I just said, oh yeah, it's over there in the San Fernando Valley in Pacoima. And I gave him the name of the church, Calvary Baptist Church. And that was it. and I hadn't talked to him. And that Saturday, I went to the activity, and I was president of the young adult department, so I was running around, and a friend of mine came to me at the end of everything, and she said, "You have a guest." And I said, "A guest? I don't know anyone outside of here in church." She said, "Well, you have a guest." And she started talking. She was looking over my shoulder, and I just was talking to her like, I don't know anyone. She said, "No, he's behind you." And I turned around, and he said, "Hi, I'm Stephen Callahan." And it's been ever since. That was our first day that we met. We hung out in the parking lot and talked a while, and I invited him to one of our church's events, and we've been together ever since. So that's how we met. So, and he is the guy, he is my guy. The other thing I'd like for you to know about him is that he takes awesome care of me. And the reason why I'm telling you these things is because the type of care and the type of things that he does, it comes from a foundation. And I think that you guys should know that because you guys were a part of his forming of his teenage years and his young adult years. And that foundation, he brings it all the way to LA, California, all the way to Los Angeles. He hasn't gotten into the LA lifestyle, but he carries Groveton with him very well. So I just want to say thank you to you guys, and job well done. So I appreciate that. The other thing that's foundational that I want you guys to know about is that he is even-tempered, and with me and with people around him. He's one of the most patient people that I can talk to, and when I need some advice, I'll go to him. He's my friend, he's my husband, he's my brother in Christ. He's absolutely wrapped up in, a package that God presented and gave to me, and I thank God for it. Every day, literally, I'm not joking. I thank God for my husband every day. Most people ask us, how do you work together and how do you live together? And then you get on the road and drive all over the place together. And that's because we like each other. And we enjoy each other's company. And we can sit down and talk and not have any of our friends around, and we can have a conversation all by ourselves, and we enjoy being with each other. And I say thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. And as I mentioned before, he is my true officer and a gentleman. I'm probably dating myself when I talk about that movie. But the first time I met him, I didn't know. And that's one thing. I don't find out anything until I come around his family members, and then when I go to the academy, that's when I find out about Stephen. And they're not bad surprises either. They're absolutely great surprises. When we had our first date, we were at dinner, and we were sitting down, and you go through this usual first date talk. Oh, what school did you go to? Oh yeah, I went here, I went to Dillard. What school did you go to? And then he started talking, and he said, first he said, well, for lunch, we had chicken cordon bleu. It's like, what university you go to that has chicken cordon bleu? So I said, what school did you go to? And he said, the Naval Academy. And then I said, oh, okay. The next thing you'll probably say is that all? That's all you can tell me because everything else is top secret. And his face got very serious, and he said, yes, that's correct. And at that point, I was thinking, okay, do I stay or do I run? And I stayed, and the rest is history. When I go back to the academy, I find out about his career at the academy. He's very quiet about his accomplishments. He's very quiet about the things that happen. And when I go back, so that you guys know, from a foundational standpoint, they absolutely talk great things about him all the time. They talk about how great of a guy he was. He's still in contact with his professors, a couple of his professors. So they've turned in from being a professor into a friend, and they talk. In fact, they just talked this past week. So in order to have that, that again has to come from a foundation, and it comes from the foundation of the type of school he went to, the type of family. Mom and Dad Callahan taught him very well, and he does represent family, God, and school very well, and Groveton very well. Some of the things that happened at when I went to the academy, and they were talking about him, they would come up to me and say, "Oh, this guy here," and I guess I had a face looking like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Then the guys go, "You didn't know any of this stuff?" And I said, "No." And then they all got around and just start telling me Stephen Callahan stories, and I was like, "Yep, thanks, Dad. You gave me an awesome gift." And then they said, "Okay, you don't believe us?" I said, "No, really, I believe you. I believe you." And then they said, "No, and they're kind of rough, you know, Navy guys. "No, let's take her over here." So they took me to the head coach of the football team, Coach, I don't remember his name, I apologize. Coach Welch. And they said, "Watch this. We're going to say 2 words and watch Coach's response." And they brought me around, and Coach was sitting there, and he was all calm and everything. He said, "Hello, young lady, how are you?" I said, "Hi, I'm doing great." And then one of the guys they called Disco said, "Coach, we have 2 words for you." He said, "What's that?" He said, "Stephen Callahan." And his immediate response was, "Oh, God, that guy, that is a great guy. Is he here?" And I said, "Yes, sir, he's here." He said, "That guy is an awesome guy. We would have to tell him to put a smile on his face when he made a touchdown." He said, "You know, he came in one day, you know, and he had just made a touchdown, and he walked back to the sideline." And I told him, "Stephen, smile. You just made a touchdown." You know, he said, but he's not the type of boastful type of guy that you would think that he would be because of how fast he was and the things that he did on the team. And he wasn't recruited for football. He walked up and asked could he be on the team, and then they found out what type of player he was. But at the same time, again, Coach was like that guy. I could always count on him. His behavior was stellar. I never would have to know what Stephen Callahan is going to do. I knew what Stephen Callahan was going to do. So again, I say that's foundation, and that comes from Groveton, Texas, from this school, and also Mom and Dad Callahan. The last thing I'd like to talk about is his sense of humor. I come from a military family, and we laugh. We organize our laughs, so you have to be around us to really see it. But this guy, he has a sense of humor, and I had to get used to it, you know, because I would joke, but I wouldn't laugh all the time. I was mostly serious. I enjoyed my life and everything, but I was mostly serious. And my dad, he was military, so if you're military, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But his sense of humor is kind of quirky. His jokes are kind of corny, but I laugh. And that's all that matters, sweetheart. I laugh, and I think they're funny. So now he has me laughing all the time. And even when we're about to maybe go and see a client or something of that nature, and he starts these jokes, you know, and he knows how I am. We're like two different people. He jokes when he's ready to go and do a presentation. I get serious. So he starts joking. And I'm like, not now, not now. He said, "No, I just want to put a smile on your face before you go in." So now he has me laughing before I go in and do whatever I need to do with clients and update them, which is a really good attitude, by the way. So it loosens me up. It keeps me young, I hope. But they're very funny, and so keep it up. They may be quirky, but it's okay. I love it. The last thing I'll talk about is that now this one, and I can admit this to family because I'm around family, and and this, we don't talk. We don't talk what we do, we just do it, right? We enjoy what we do, and we just do it. We don't go out and, you know, not necessarily boast about it, but in order to find out what we do, you have to talk to us for a while. And I'm not saying these things because he's my husband either. I do have two independent proofs, two independent third-party people that we didn't even solicit. And you'll find out what I'm about to talk about in just a minute. We didn't even solicit, but they called us. And professionally is the third category that I want to talk about. Professionally speaking, I enjoy working with my husband. I really do. He's the president of our company, and he runs it very well. He takes it very seriously, and but the thing about it is that you won't know how well he's doing unless you get the numbers back. And I'm right next to him, sometimes in the same office with him, and I don't know until I get the reports. And I'll go in and say, did you know what you did last month? You go, well, yeah, I guess I did. And then he goes on talking about other stuff, and I tell him, you know, sweetheart, I really don't know how well you do with your portfolios until I see the numbers. And I'm not bragging, I'm saying this because it really is a demonstration of who he is. Again, in my industry, when you get around your colleagues, they talk about performance, and they talk about, you know, large accounts that they've just pulled in, assets under management and everything like that. That's what we do, that's what they do. But Stephen, he's different. The only way you'll know is if you talk to him for a long time. It's not anything, and then you start putting pieces together because of the things that he says and how he says it, and that's how you find out. Me, being his partner, I find out by other sources. The two sources that I'm talking about, our clients, we're very involved with our clients' numbers, and we talk to their CPAs a lot. And I have one CPA that called back, and he said, and we have been working with him, I think the client for about 3 or 4 years at that time. And he gave me a call out of the blue, and he said, Millicent, he has an accent, he said, I just wanted to tell you. He said, I don't know if you know this, but that man, Stephen Callahan, his numbers pass all of my other clients' numbers. And I know he probably won't boast about this, but I'm calling to let you know. I have a lot of clients, and his numbers pass them all. And I told him thank you, and I was very proud. I'm not saying this because I don't have any ulterior motives. That's not to say I will guarantee every client come through the door. My whole reason for talking about this is because of who he is and what he does and how he does it. And to just confirm that you guys, you didn't pick a bad guy. You did very well when you selected him, so thank you. The other CPA that called, she actually was kind of upset. She's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I said, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. She said, do you know how much the portfolio performed? And I said, yes, I do. And she said, do you realize how the tax bracket that you've put our client in? And I said, yeah, that's our job. And she said, well, that's good, but I'm not quite sure what to do yet. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, and I wasn't being mean or anything because we're actually friends now. I said, well, I tell you what, we did our job, so now you go do your job and see what we come up with. And even with the fact that we told her and we told the client, listen, it's fine, we'll take the taxes out of your portfolio. And even with taking out the taxes of the portfolio still had a tremendous gain. And I'm so proud of you. that's the kind of guy that I'm married to. I'm married to him, and find those things out by third parties. And that's fine with me, because he doesn't come in boasting about anything. And it's based upon a foundation. It's based upon his upbringing. It's based upon where his foundation came from. Came from Mom and Dad Callahan, came from Groveton, came from Groveton High School, and the teachers that were involved in his life. So teachers, well done. Job well done. I want to say thank you for my gift from you guys. I want to say thank you for just creating and planting seed in this guy for him to be a great guy. And he's gone off to represent you guys very, very well. And I say thank you from a business partner and from a wife standpoint. I could not be any happier than what I am. And I am looking forward to the future, because God says the latter is far greater than the former. And that is my phone, and I think it's my time. I appreciate you guys listening to me. Thank you very much.
Nobody get excited. I'm just stretching. That's all. I've been sitting for a while, so I do that sometimes. I want to stretch. How you doing, family? Good. I have here. This could be a playbook, and I have some notes that I'm gonna go through at the beginning and at the end, because I want to get the beginning correct, and I want to end on a good note. The middle of it, anything could happen. You know, it's like if this was a playbook and we're supposed to go run the play this way, I might run it that way, I might not. If you were a teammate of mine in the past, you know that when I get the football and run with it, it could go anywhere. And my teammates at Naples said the same thing. You know, well, the play's supposed to go this way, yeah, but. So the middle of this may go all over the place. So I thank you in advance for bearing with me, but I want to read some things off because I want to make sure that I acknowledge those of you who have put this together, and those of you who have selected me to be here. And we did not talk. She didn't see what I was gonna say, and I didn't know what she's gonna say, but it crossed paths because that's just the way God worked it out. So some things may sound repetitive because I know this is supposed to be a little bit about me, but that's not where my comfort zone is. I prefer to look at this and say, as she was mentioning, this is where it started. So hopefully when this is over and done, that, yeah, they'll say we made a decent choice. But I do want to honor those, the members and the committee of the Ex-Students Association for bestowing this honor upon me. Now, special honor to Miss Beacon, Joanne Beacon. She has labored long and hard in helping me get my thoughts together, and that's no easy task because, you know, she did it in a way that, if you read the article, I haven't read it yet, so she threw out a bunch of stuff that probably not look so good. So I thank you for making it look good on paper. That helps a lot. So a special thanks to your effort. And I don't know all the other members. I know you didn't do it by yourself. It was a collective thing. so I appreciate all of that for all of you. I couldn't get in the building because once upon a time, I don't know if it's still hanging there used to be a sign that said through these halls past, is that still there or is it down?
Still there.
It's still there? Oh, cool. Because that went up my junior year and I was able to help work on it and paint it and just a little bit because I wasn't that artistic. So I did just a little bit of the paint. But I remember in the lower left corner, that was the word through these halls past some of the, I got to write the E. Not the whole letter word, just the E on there. And so I'm just good that E is still hanging up there. So I was hoping to take a look at it before we left, but the meaning of that didn't really sink in at the time. There are so many students, there are so many people that have come through here and made their mark, left their footprint and fingerprint in different spots that came from right out of Groveton and done great and wonderful things. This could have been placed on anybody. So I just counted God's favor that I was selected because again, there's a lot of people to choose from. So I thank you for doing that. I will receive the award, but I give the glory and the honor for it to God. And that's gonna be a recurring thing. This is about not me, but about big G and little g, God and Groveton. Because as she mentioned, there are seeds planted, and whatever you see anywhere, it's a result of seeds that were planted. A lot of people are not bad people. If you take the fertile soil anywhere and you plant thorn bushes and you plant whatever, the soil's gonna bring up whatever you planted. So some people I look at that I disagree with on things and that are bad actors and that, do bad things. They just got bad seed. If they had a better foundation, I believe they would act better because everything has a root and it springs from someplace, and I'm springing up from. You're seeing some of the seeds that this school and this town and this collective community has planted. When it comes to thank those whose hands have prepared this, I am blessed by your efforts and the food and all this that was prepared. I didn't want to partake of it before I spoke because, I got pre-game jitters, so I didn't want to eat anything, but I'll eat it later on. Those who are in the parade, I thank you for inviting us to participate in that. I was kind of hoping I could drive a car. I was kind of hoping to drive the convertible. We've had a convertible for the last probably 20 years. Like driving up and down Pacific Coast Highway, seeing the ocean, so we've had a convertible for the last 20 years up until last year. But I believe that I'm gonna get a convertible for Christmas. So I'm just putting it out there. Just gotta put it out there. So convertible for Christmas. Anyway, and I want to thank the pastor for opening this with prayer. Whenever you start anything with prayer, you're off to a good start. So I thank you for setting the tone. And I don't know where the school is on this, what legislation is on this, but when it comes to prayer in school, you're not gonna get prayer out of school. Just forget it. Just hang it up. You're not gonna get prayer out of school as long as you have pop quizzes and final exams. You're just not, because there's gonna be somebody somewhere praying for an answer. And most of the time you can tell the students that's praying for an answer, you teachers out there, you know that you put a pop quiz on somebody's desk and everyone's head's down and they're shoving and scratching trying to find the answer, and then you look and see one over here doing, that's the one just trying to find the answer. They're praying it out. Just let them work it out, they'll be all right. So just don't worry about that. Franklin Roosevelt once said, be sincere, be brief, and then be seated. So I'm going for 2 out of 3 because it's been several years since I talked to you guys, so I don't think I can do 40 years in a few minutes, so it might take me a minute, but to make sure I don't go on too long, I'm gonna have my wife be the official, but the unpaid timekeeper. It wasn't in the budget, but I'll buy the gas when we don't. And I'm gonna start with something that's very familiar. It's familiar if you've done your homework. And I look at these faces and I see homework. No one got the homework assignment. So this is the pop quiz. But I got the answer. I'll help you out on this. I'll read this verbatim. So it is with the world also. Cooperation must become a universal thing. Every nation on every continent and every race of every nation must join hands and hearts in order to live in harmony and with one another. We all live in one world and we should all work for one purpose, to serve God and our fellow man. This is the way God meant for us to live. In the end, it's the only way we can live. I copied off myself. That is from the 76 Tomahawk. And it's one of those things that I was inspired to write. So, and it could have been, based on what we're seeing, it could have been written yesterday. But that's where it was, and that's where I left. I said, you know what, I'll just pick up where I left off. And oddly enough, on the cover of that Tomahawk, if you go back and get a copy of it, there's some things now that were foundational that today sets people's head on fire. I mean, they had the flag on the cover. There was a sliver of the Statue of Liberty. There was some fireworks, and there was a cannon, and there are a lot of things that to us were foundational, but now things have been turned on their head, so they're been looked at as divisive, but they're not. They're just a part of who we are as a country and as a people. And I'm glad I was here to learn that and that be a part of who I am. She talked about scenes. Now before I continue to do this, I want to make sure I don't skip over this, because as you can tell, my wife loves me. She wants me to do well, and she wants me to always put my best foot forward. I'm not always good at that, because our mentors, they were very transparent. They are very transparent in their books, in their teaching. If they made something goofy and said something goofy in their dumb day before they learned, they'll tell you, because sometimes people need to know that it wasn't a smooth path. You had some bumps in the road. You didn't just shoot straight up in anything. So my viewpoint is, the more dumb things I've done and got away with, or gotten through, not so much get away with, but gotten through, had to overcome, the worse I do, the better my God looks. Because people can say, look, if this guy can do this and he can straighten him out and work with him, then they don't look at me, the goofball sometimes, or the mistake-prone person, or the person that did some things that just didn't work, or didn't think it through. They look at, you did that, and God straightened it out. I should be asking you about your God. I should be asking you not so much about what you did, but where did you get this knowledge? Where did you get this perseverance? Where did you get this from? And so people will look at me and I say, no, it's that way. But I also have to point that way, because it's all a part of it. Some of the things that I'm walking in now, all of those are seeds. Some of them were planted at Baldwin Chapel for that part of it. But people can't build on a foundation if there is not one to begin with. You just have to, you can't build on nothing. So I used to be concerned about coming from here, because you go off, you haven't been anywhere, and you hear, I'm from Boston, I'm from Philly, I'm from Chicago, and you say, I'm from Groveton, and they would go, where? And you hear that after so many times, you wonder, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe they don't know, so you kind of undergo. And I kind of shrunk back from it, because people didn't know, and I couldn't tell them, because I said, you don't know where Houston is, you don't know where that is, so I can't tell you where it is. So that started to affect my thinking after a while, and I had to years to correct that. Where you came from is okay. Where you came from is a good place, but I had to find that out later on that this is the place to be from because of what it sold into me early. There's some things I want to cover, and if I had to make a title for this, it would be basically, how do we say this? Defining moments. That might be kind of strong, but defining moments, because all through life, you're gonna go through stuff, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna do good things. Defining moments are not always great things. There are sometimes complete failures, but it defines, okay, what are you gonna do next? What's your next move? What direction are you gonna allow this to push you and take you? So I'm still having defining moments, and my first defining moment started early. It was kind of a whodunit, so I'll use that as kind of maybe a spot to clear my name, so to speak. I went to school in Corrigan first before I came to school in Groveton. My oldest brothers, William and Robert, went to school here in Groveton, and the next two, Craig and Donald, they went to Corrigan. Now, before I was even in grade school, my mom taught down in Corrigan, so sometimes I would go with them to school. And since my mom was teaching her classes down in Craig where they were in classes, and I was at the school, but since they were all tied up doing stuff, sometimes I got loose. And I would be running around, and next to us there was a farm. There was this school, there was a farm, pigs, cows, and hogs, whatever, and they had ducks. And I'm 6 years old, and it didn't occur to me that when you're running around the playground chasing ducks, that everybody in the school can see you out the window, and then a duck came up dead, and so I got the blame for that. But what they saw was me chasing the duck. They didn't see me catch the duck because I couldn't. I mean, little ducks, I'm 6 years old. Come on, give me a break. I'm 6 years old, and I'm not coordinated, and these ducks get scooped, but the duck came up dead. So I'm in the principal's office at 6 years old, the high school principal's office, and he's sweating me about, killing this duck and this farmer duck. And I'm about to crack under pressure, so I'm getting used to handling pressure a little bit. And the only way I didn't crack is because, hey look, I couldn't catch the duck. Not that I didn't try, I just couldn't catch it. In fact, we went down to Corrigan yesterday just to take a look. We don't come here very often. So I wanted to go and just look at the old school. And plus by now, I figured the coast is clear. And so we went down and looked, and just to reminisce and take some pictures. And I got some other things on here, like other things that I would consider defining moments, like the Boy Scouts. And we had a Boy Scout troop here in Groveton, and they had a Boy Scout troop over in Diboll. But I'm gonna skip that because those guys kind of robbed me blind. I went to camp with them because there was no one else in Groveton going to camp that particular year. And so I went with that bunch from Diboll, and they pretty much robbed me blind. I mean, they picked me like a chicken. And I was trying to hide money in my, in my bags and stuff, and they would find it, but God bless them, and hope they did well with it. So, but that was that. I learned something from that, and it wasn't. Yeah, you're 8, 9 years old and you're mad, but you learn from that. The next really thing that made a big impression was I started playing football with junior high. And my first touchdown, I think Steve Evans threw me a pass, and I was 7th grade, and I go up and I catch it. And I come down and I pull the ball into my stomach. And so I hit the ground, and the guy guarded the lands on top of me, so I'm flat like a pancake. And I roll over on my back, and I can't breathe. seeing the referee throw his hands up like this, and I'm thinking it's Jesus at the pearly gates because I can't breathe. And I'm seeing, but I wasn't seeing the pearly gates, I was just seeing stars running around my head. And he opens up my pants so I can breathe, and okay, I'm good. And then the next time we score again, but I didn't even score the touchdown. I just scored an extra point. But I run into the end zone, and I'm watching Calvin Hill. I'm a big Cowboy fan. I'm watching Walt Garrison, and I'm watching Dwayne Thomas. I'm watching all these guys, and I throw the ball up in the air, and the referee says, "Go get the football." And the ball, you know, we used to have those hedges over there at the football field, at the big, these tall hedges. That ball went all the way under those hedges, and I had to crawl to get to that football and give it to the referee. And I'm thinking the stands, junior high football, which you got 20 people in the stands, I'm thinking, you know, I'm just embarrassed because he made me go crawl and get that football. But it marked me not to do that again. It's not about you, it's about the team. It's not just about you showing off, it's about the team. And as far as I can recall, and if I'm wrong, do not remind me. As far as I can recall, I don't ever recall throwing the football up like that again. I always gave the ball back to the referee, but it's because of that ref saying, "Hey, look, don't do that. Give me the ball." And it kind of turned me away from me and toward everyone else. No one knew I did this, and I'm saying it for the first time now openly, that when we had a football game, it was an away game, you guys don't know, just the pressure I felt mentally. I would, every game, I would count who's there. I would count who's on the bus. I would look and I would say, okay, you know, Willie's here, Hook is here, David's here, you know, Ted's here, Dwayne's here, Glenn's here, and I would go down the whole list. Fess Parker's here, you know, Clarence is here, and I would go down the list because I believe that if everyone was here, Nelson's here, you know, Mark Fields is here, Mark Woods is here, and I would go down the list because if I had my guys on the bus with me, I believe we could win. I didn't care who the other team had. I just knew who I was running with, and I believe that whoever we met up with my guys around me, we were going to win that game. And when I got to be a senior, I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing the same thing mentally every time we go to a game. And we started, Coach Cobb told me, "You're going to play quarterback this year." And I said, okay. We practiced all off season. Are you telling me?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
I just answered. I thought she would have a
Feeling a little
phone out,
longer.
and I said, "She's telling me." But anyway, I do this routine. I'm going on the list. We had off-season training, then we had 2-a-days, and then all those practices, and now we're gonna play the first scrimmage game. And I'm on the bus. I think it was in Madisonville. Somebody. And I'm going down the list. Yeah, I'm going this one, that one, that one, that one. And I get to quarterback. And I'm drawing a blank. And cause Steve Evans was quarterback last year, and now I'm quarterback. And I'm drawing a blank because I can't figure out where the quarterback is. So I think we don't have a quarterback. And so I'm starting to panic. And then it dawned on me, you know, you're the quarterback. And I kept right on panicking. Because it didn't make me feel any better because it's all practice before then. It wasn't a game because so I didn't know how I was going to do. So I'm just still panicking. And even though we get off to a good start, it never changed. Every game, who you running with, who's on your team. And I remember Coach Cobb told us once about Timpson. He said, they got 3 players. Then he said, we got 3 players faster than anybody on our team. I really didn't care because I knew who we had with us. They had what, Joe Johnson, and they had a all-state sprint relay team. They had, you know, did they win state the year before? Whatever it was, but they had some fast guys. I didn't care because I knew who was playing with me, and I believed we could win, and we did. We beat them 2 years in a row in the playoffs. But that's all a part of learning and believing who my team was. And yes, 20 minutes already? What?
Oh,
Wait a minute.
God.
Was that quick? Was that quick or what? You know, y'all know what's happening, right? Let me tell you what's happening. We like riding a lot together. We like driving, not flying. We also like little spots. But so we have not been social distancing for the last 2 days. And we've been in a car together for the last 2 days. So to her, it sounds like I've been talking a long time. So that's why she put, I just said start the clock and she just ding already. Okay, can I get 10 minutes then? Okay, I'm gonna see if I can speak this along. But the thing was, it was teamwork. But somewhere in my thinking, when I got to Navy, when I got to NAPS, I went to the coach and said, can I play? And he said, sure, you can try out. And I said, these guys are not gonna let me play quarterback. And that was just thinking on my part. So I went out for wide receiver. I'll get way out here where, you know, it's nobody, just me and the quarterback, whatever, one-on-one. And I got to be number 1 on the depth chart. And I was gonna be starting. And we had a coach, he was a little fire plug. I mean, this guy was just, and then I'm in chow one day by myself eating, and he comes bouncing up, hey, how you doing? And I'm thinking already something's off, because he don't ever talk to me. He was not my position coach, so why you know, what's up here? And he says, I said, I'm doing good, coach. And he's bouncing. How do you like to play running back? And my lightning fast mind says, do I have a choice? No. Okay. So my goal was to get out wide and get away and get out here. And it was like God saying, nope, I'm bringing you right back to the middle, because who watches the wide receivers? You watch the quarterback, you watch the action. So I'm out here off the screen, and now I'm drawn right back into the middle. But by coming back there, it put me on Navy's radar, and they decided to bring me down from there, from NAPS. But that's all favor. That comes from favor in God's eyes and favor in the eyes of man. Once I got to Navy is when some other challenges started, because now that lack of confidence in where I came from, I said, you know what, I didn't get the kind of schooling these guys came to me, and so I'm questioning myself, and I had to deal with that. So I kind of stumbled out the blocks. In fact, when I got to my third class year, you know, I was a sophomore, we beat BYU in the Holiday Bowl. And I go home for Christmas, and I come back after Christmas, and then my professor, a guy, a friend of mine, I call him up and say, hey, how you doing, Merry Christmas? And he says, you are up for honor violation. And I said, what? You're up for an honor violation. And if you're found guilty, they're gonna kick you out of here. And what goes off in my mind is, don't quit. That's Coach Cobb saying, you know, don't quit. And that's some other things that came in, you know, there are a lot of things that I'm skipping over, some things that you learn here just by being in the environment. You know, Coach, when I'm seeing you over there, and I remember we were playing Groveton, and I'm out there, I'm in the game. And I'm looking out, I'm watching what I'm doing, and I hear this voice from the sideline. And it sounded like nobody else, the band wasn't playing, the band stopped, cheerleaders stopped, and I hear this voice from the sideline say, Callahan, quit picking your nose and get your head in the game. And I'm going, I'm working here. I'm just what? Because as far as I know, I hadn't gotten burned that night. I hadn't given any big plays. And again, if I got burned, I give a big play, don't remind me. You can have that memory. I don't want to know. But it's those kind of things that, okay, you're learning as you go along, but you don't know what you're learning. That was a sign in the field house. Used to say, well, there were several signs in the field house, but one of them said, to be average is to be the worst of the good and the best of the bad. That don't make no sense. In those days, that don't make no sense. I mean, I'm good, but I'm worse at good, or I'm bad, and but all the time we're being taught to win. We're being taught to keep pressing. We're being taught. So even though it didn't make any sense, the winning, the repetition, the fellowship with the other teammates, that's growing and that's building a part of who I was. And I'm seeing Coach Minton here, and I don't remember hardly a thing from his government classes, except for maybe it was something to do with Soviet Union. Remember, I think you said it was propaganda. It was about, what was it? It was a race, 2 race cars in a race. One is US, one is, Russian, and US wins. And he said the headlines say, Russia comes in second, US comes in next to last. And that didn't make any sense to me at all either. It's 2 cars, one comes in, and never mind. But he cleared that up for me in practice one day, because we're doing some drill, and there's a passing drill, and he's throwing the passes, and one of the defensive backs got beat, and the other coach jumped all over him for getting beat. And Coach Minton says, Coach, he needs to go further in the flats, because so he can cover going in the flats. But it was a perfectly thrown pass. And I said, I'm thinking, perfectly thrown pass? What's he talking about? I said, okay, you know what? That's propaganda. Perfectly thrown pass. He said, right. But I recall that play from practice. But long story short, I got through the honor violation. I had a hearing like a trial. And but that goes back to what I learned here. Miss Barton, typing classes, basic typing class, got to type that report. Miss Schubert, proper documenting and footnoting, because they said you cheated, you did this, and I said no, here are the footnotes, here's the documentation, because they don't tell you how to write. They just say, write this report, and you go do it. But because I was taught well here, I was able to stand up and fight that and win. That's part of seeds that were planted here. But if that wasn't enough, I get another call saying, you're gonna get kicked out of here because of your grades. And you gotta go defend yourself. This goes back to, again, from going back to the duck, working under pressure, the thread that came through here from Groveton. And the honor board is such that you go stand in front of the commandant, the superintendent, and you got admiral, brass, and it's just you and your company officer, and you got to stand there and sit there rather than tell them you're failing. What are you going to do to bring your grades up? Why should we not kick you out? I went to 3 of these, at least 3 of these, but I gutted it out. I gritted it out until the last one. The last one was a breaker for me. I had reached my wits' end. I had reached all I could get out of myself, worked hard as I could, and I was just completely discouraged. I wasn't depressed. I was just discouraged, and I just said, I had enough. I've done everything I can do. It's not working. I'm still failing, and I just want out. And my company officer was a Marine Corps guy, and he wanted me to stay because he said, you're gonna go in the Marine Corps, I want you here. And he says, fight it. And I said, Major, I'm done. I've done all I could do. I've been battling this for 3 years, and I don't know what else to do. And I said, I am done. Because what they ask you again is when you first go in, they tell you, okay, this. What are you gonna do so that we don't kick you out of here? And I had made up in my mind that, okay, I've done all I can do. They're gonna ask me what I should do, if they should kick me out. I'm gonna say yes. Because I said, if you wanna kick me out, I will not quit. I'm not gonna quit, but if you wanna kick me out, I'm not gonna fight. I'm done. So I go in, and my company officer is with me, and there at the end is the superintendent, is Vice Admiral Lawrence. And he threw me a Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson, Kershaw curveball, like I never saw coming. He said, Steve, we've talked with your professors. We've seen the work you're doing. And we just want you to know that if there's anything that we can do to help you stay here, you let us know. Now, how you gonna quit when the guy says that? He never gave me an opening to get out. But just like here, people were put in my path to open doors and show me favor. The man talking was a POW. He was shot down over Vietnam. He stayed in the Hanoi Hilton. He was tortured. This guy was starved. This guy was bruised. This guy was abused in every which way POW can be. And he's looking at me, and he's telling me that I want to stay. So at that point, as I said, I had given up. I was done. I was done believing in me. But what happened was, at that point, forget about what I believe. I'll let y'all know what you believe. You believe I can do this. And your POW, you are seeing things in me that I don't. So I'll latch on to what you believe and what you see. Mr. P.D. Hamilton, I'm playing basketball right in this very gym. And I'm just having to run down the court, but he pulls me over because he sees something in me that I don't see. He sees that potential that I didn't see. And I believe God placed him in my path. Bouncy, Lieutenant Parker. By the way, Lieutenant Parker drove a Porsche convertible. I don't recall what the interior looked like, but I think it was black. I believe that my Porsche convertible is going to be peanut butter on the inside. Just saying. But Lieutenant Parker says, you don't need to be out here. You need to be right here in the middle. And all of my life I've had people at one point or another show me favor, open doors that I didn't see. We were at a country club. We were thinking about joining a country club about 2 months ago. And I'm walking around, just looking around the club, and this guy is giving my wife money. I turn around and I see this guy giving my wife money. And I'm looking, what? You giving her money? And he looks at me and he says, is that young man, is that your husband? And she says, yeah. And he says, well, you know, I guess I'll give him some money too. And I said, well, all right. But I'm just saying, favor. We're in Beverly Hills Hotel. And this is not for me, this is God. This is something that people see that I want to do something with you. I don't know what yet, but, so I don't count it to me at all. All the glory goes up here. Cause it was on me, people run away. We're going to dinner with, an intern. It was a guy from USC. We used to go to USC, we'd be on panels, and there would be brokerage firms there, and you'd be on a panel, and they would have interns in finance from USC that are looking for places to go and work under somebody. So we would go and we'd have interns. And this one was doing very well, and he came back and said, I want to take you guys to dinner. And he says, pick someplace expensive. I said, well, we can do that. So we go to Beverly Hills hotel, and I'm walking to the hotel. I've never seen this guy in my life. And this guy said, hey, how you doing? I said, I'm doing great. How you doing? He says, oh, my back's hurting. He says, walk with me. I want to go inside and sit down. And again, I just met this guy 2 minutes ago, and we talked, and he said, you know what? I want to give you $1 million to work with for me. I want you to manage $1 million for me. I said, cool. But that's God's favor. That is nothing that I plan. But it's something I expect. I don't know how, because I believe I came from good stock. I came from the right place, and the thread goes through Groveton, right there at Baldwin Chapel. Now I wasn't taught everything I'm walking in now when I was there. I wasn't taught that, but the foundation was laid. Again, if the seeds of who I am in Christ were not laid, there would be nothing for anyone else to build on. And I'm going to speed this along because she's bringing that bell again. The last, I guess, moment or defining moment came a few years ago. We're at home and we get a letter in the mail. And the letter says, I don't know the legal terms for it, but it says, you owe $5 million. This company, this group is suing you for $5 million. My wife gets a letter. This XYZ company is suing you for $5 million. And a third letter comes. This XYZ company is suing Callahan and Callahan for $5 million. That'll get your attention. And it was, what do? Do you fold up or do you fight? We believe, but it wasn't by accident. We find, of all the lawyers in LA, we find the right person that will fight for us. And it was a faith fight. But it all, again, here, the faith started being built here because of seeds that were planted here. And you go into a courtroom and you wonder what to do with your life, that all these people you don't know that don't want to be here for jury duty are going to decide what happens to you. And she said, and this is my wife, she's as strong as dirt. That's a good thing. Not tough as iron, but strong as dirt. Dirt's pretty strong. And she said, we can't hate this person. We got to love them. Because God works through love and not hate. So we got to pray for this person, which is the last thing I want to do, is pray for this dude. And she said somehow she had a picture of him. So she printed the picture out. She said, you pray for him at work and I'll pray for him here. And I said, okay. So I take it to work, and then I got the picture on my keyboard so I can see it. And I call her, I take a break, and I call her and says, where you got your picture? And I said, mine's in the keyboard. She said, I don't want to look at him all day. And I said, well, what are we gonna do? She says, put it on the keyboard so you can't see it, but you can still pray for him. So we go to court and we're seeing all these people, and at some point, something broke in the heavens, and I knew it. Something broke because they're tossing jurors out left and right. No, I don't want you. You're out. No, you're out. And this one guy, I'm praying. I don't care the whole jury. I don't care. I was praying that we're over here. He's their guys over there, and the girl is asking this guy questions, and I didn't say anything, but I heard what the guy said, and I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to speak that out there, but she's asking this guy a question, and I said, this guy gets it. They're not gonna make him stay because he guy gets it. I'm thinking this, and this guy knows what's going on. And the attorney turns to the judge and says, Judge, we find the witness acceptable. And I knew at that point we had won. I don't know why, but I knew that this guy gets it. He's on the jury. We won. It's over. We haven't heard a word of testimony. We're over. But that's again just believing what God has already done. The battle is won at the beginning, not at the end. And we actually won the case. We actually won that. Damage was minimal, but that's just grit. That's just grit from Groveton. That's just God's goodness. That's just favor. But the thread that runs through everything and continues to run through everything is what came from here, God and Groveton. And the other thing that I want to read, and I want to get this right, that's why I want to read it, and I'll take a seat. I'll say thank you again for honoring me and my family, because it is my family as well that is being honored here. Genesis 12. It reads, and this is God speaking to Abraham. He says in verse 2, I will bless you, and I will make your name famous, and you will be a blessing to others. So forget about the famous stuff. That's not important. The desire is to be a blessing to others. That's the whole thing. For me, is to be a blessing to others. Put myself in a position to pull somebody else along, because that's what's happened to me over and over and over. People have pulled me along. And this is where you come in. It continues, I will bless those who bless you. This is a blessing to me and my family. So as the farmer who sows a seed, he expects a harvest. He's looking for a harvest. So, and all of you being here is a part of that. Because in Groveton, there's a lot of ways you can spend your Saturday afternoon. You don't have to be here. So I want you to be a part of receiving that, even though you were on the committee, even though you might not have had a hand in the declarations, you are a part of this. So you expect a harvest because you sow seed in the good ground. You expect goodness and mercy to follow you. You expect health. You expect prosperity. You expect increase for this part in this participation. So expect that. It continues on in Numbers 6:22, 6:22 to 27. This is no longer Moses or Abraham. This is now Moses. And the Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron and his sons, they are to give a special blessing to the people of Groveton. It actually says Israel, people of Israel, but I'm changing that because I'm speaking over you and I'm able to do that. I can speak what the word says. But it says here, the Lord bless you and keep you. Keep you as in protect you and sustain you and guard you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you, that is with favor. And be gracious to you, that is surrounding you with loving kindness. The Lord lift up his countenance, that is his face, upon you, and that is with divine approval, and give you peace, that is tranquil heart and life. I will do this. I am Stephen Callahan. I'm the fifth son of William and Anella Callahan. I'm the fifth brother of William Jr., Robert, Donald, and Craig. I'm the husband of Millicent Callahan, and I'm a son of the Most High God. And I approve this message.
Okay.
2020, the Groveton X Students Association is so proud to honor you today, and we thank you all so much for spending your time with us. I know it was not, you didn't drive from Lufkin to see us, they came from California. But it is an honor for me to present you with your plaque today.